The Tim Heale Podcasts. Ordinary people's extraordinary stories.
Welcome to the Tim Heale Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to have a chat with Carrie. Carrie's going to tell us where and when she was born. She's going to describe what it was like where she grew up, the school she went to, and the education that she received. So, Carrie, welcome.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. So, let's have a look. When or where were you born? We won't go into sort of when because you're a lady, so we don't ask ladies their age. But
that's okay. I'm an open book, Tim.
You're just a young girl.
I was born in Sharon, Pennsylvania, which is an hour north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I lived right on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. So you would, I guess, call it Western Pennsylvania. I was born on January 17th. It was negative 19 degrees when I was born. And usually around my birthday, we would always get a big blizzard, and it's always cold and dark and dreary. So where I grew up, let's be honest, I just always kind of wanted to escape that town. Even though I call it home, in that area, it's gray skies and it's dark most of the time, and it snows 6 months out of the year. So my whole life, I just wanted to move south to sunshine and blue skies. So I'll save that part for later. But my education, I went to Case Avenue Elementary. I graduated from Sharon High School. Sharon High, class of 2000. Woo, woo. We were the Sharon Tigers. And then after high school, I went to Youngstown State University, which is in Youngstown, Ohio. I graduated with a marketing management degree and started my career.
Whoa.
What happened?
We're only 2 minutes in and you're already left university. What happened to your kindergarten?
Sorry.
Did you go to school on skis, or I know you wanted to get out of there pretty quick, but come on, let's have a chat about kindergarten. Can you remember much about it?
Kindergarten. I don't remember much about kindergarten. My education was good. I think the school systems are great. I think we had some really great teachers and good people to kind of support the youth up there. And that's important to me now because I believe that empowering our youth is so important in today's world. It's always been important, but so yeah.
So moving up then from your kindergarten.
Elementary school. Let's see, what else did I do? So I was a cheerleader in high school, and
that's high school. That's not junior school.
I don't remember, Tim. I have a bad memory when it comes.
Come on. let's rattle a few of those grey cells.
Oh, let's see. What do you want to know?
Elementary school.
Ask me some questions.
So 6 months of the year you got snow.
Yes.
So did you manage to go to school on skis?
We would walk to school.
Or did you have snowshoes?
We would walk to school in our snow boots. Yes, sir. And you would always have a pair of shoes to change into. So when you got to school, you took off your snow boots, you put them against the wall, and you put on your regular shoes, and you went into class.
Right. So 6 months of the year, that's pretty grim if you got snow there all that time. I suppose so it starts in sort of late September, does it? And finishes in sort of April.
May sometimes.
May, blimey.
Yeah.
So is it known as a skiing area? Did you manage to go skiing at all?
No, never.
You got all that snow, they'd never used it.
We would go sled riding a lot. There's a hill. It's called the West Hill. So Sacred Heart, we'd go sled riding down the hill, and that was always fun. But no, I never went skiing. Tim, I don't like the snow. I don't like cold. That's why I wanted to move away from there.
Fair enough. So in your elementary school then, what was your favourite subject?
Spelling and geography. And I remember that because I was in a spelling bee and I got the word restaurant wrong. And I was in the geography bee and I think I won the geography bee. So yeah.
So are you still pretty good at spelling?
I think so.
Can you spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? Can you
No.
spell it?
No.
What do you mean you can't spell it? I can.
Would you like me to try?
No, I'll spell it, shall I?
Okay, go ahead.
IT.
IT.
Come on, get with the program. I thought you said you could spell.
I don't get it.
I asked you to spell it.
Spell it. Oh, okay. All right. God bless you, Tim.
Yeah,
All right, moving on. What's next?
moving on. What was your worst subject in elementary school?
Jeez, oh man, I haven't thought about elementary school for like my whole life. What was my worst subject? I don't know. I got all A's in school. I always got all A's. And even when I was in high school, I'll be honest with you, Tim. So I was voted most rebellious in high school. I was a rebel with a lost cause, is what I like to say. And the lost cause I share about in my book, Behind the Screen.
Chasing after James Dean, are we?
Yeah, something like that.
So being such a rebel then, how'd you manage to get all the A's?
It was a personal, I'm a very results-oriented person. So even when I was a little girl, I just needed results for some reason. And so for me, I needed to see that 100 on my test or that big A, and that just satisfied me. No one really ever held me to a standard. I hold my own self to that standard, and I always have. So in elementary school, I it was easy. I don't remember a lot. I don't know why I don't remember a lot about elementary school. I'm gonna have to go back and think about this now. But in high school, you know, I did a lot of partying and skipping school. I hate to say that, but I was a rebel. And but I still got straight A's just because it was important to me.
So you managed to study and muck about at the same time?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I was the other. I mucked about and did the study and didn't get any A's. I was actually lucky to scrape through school as it was, but I did a lot of bunking off.
I think there's a difference between boys and girls.
Yeah.
Very much so, because I have a son now who absolutely despises school, and he's the smartest kid I know, but he does not like school.
You have to find something that he's interested in, and then he'll study.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the key.
He wants to be a millionaire, so I support him 100%.
What, in being a millionaire?
Yeah, he said he's going to take good care of me one day. So I said, all right, we'll see who gets there first, me or you. Let's go.
Yeah. So I guess to become a millionaire, you have to be fairly clever. So he needs to stay at school and do a bit more studying to be clever.
Yeah. Wow.
So high school, cheerleading. What was that all about? How does that work? Did you get tryouts and all that?
You have to practice. You have to go to tryouts. I didn't make the football cheerleading team, which was like the one you wanted to be on. But I was a girls basketball cheerleader.
Well, I guess they had. It must have been a big school to have like a basketball team for girls.
No, I don't think our school was that big. I live in a big city now. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, I'm actually in South Carolina now, but I graduated with about a class of 100 kids.
That's fairly sizable. That's enough to give you a few teams of different things. So did they have a big football team, lots of jocks there and that?
Yep, we did.
But you couldn't get onto the cheerleading squad for that.
Nope.
Why? Why couldn't you get on that team?
Why I don't know. I wasn't good enough. Oh, hold on. Let me rephrase that. Because I was good enough. I just did not qualify to the standards that were held upon the expectations at that time.
Not that your face didn't fit then, because you was a bit of a rebel.
I guess so.
So, how did the basketball team get on with you cheering them on?
How did they do? I'm sure they did just fine. They did good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we move away from high school now? Let's move on with the conversation. What else do we have to talk about?
Okay. Well, I'm just interested.
Yeah.
So, graduate high school then. Did you? What was your high school prom like before we get moving on?
Did I go to prom? Well, here's the deal. I had, I guess you'll say, I don't know if it's a difficult childhood or maybe that's why I don't really remember. Grade school, my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. So I went through a transition of my family splitting apart and moving to a different school system. So maybe that's why I'm trying to think, because I look at our subconscious program and the way our brain works. So maybe I kind of put some of those memories out aside because I had to process some other emotional stuff. So my parents got divorced. And then when I was in high school, I dated the football player, the jock, the one that was the most popular. And I got my heart broken a lot. And I went through a lot of just tough times. It was an interracial relationship and my family found out and disowned me. I was in the relationship for 9 years and it was a roller coaster ride. It was really tough. And I went through a lot of emotional trauma, I guess you'll say. Looking back as an adult, I definitely did. And so that probably had a lot to do with the reason why I was a rebel. I say with a lost cause because, I should have been smarter than the decisions that I made at that point in time. And that's really, I write about all of this stuff in my book Behind the Screen because I feel like we need to break down the walls. We need to let our truth come out, if you will, because that's the only way that you can transform and you can rise above the egoic mindset that I think we've all been conditioned to live according to, right? So I went through some difficult times, and I guess maybe my defense mechanism is I just don't want to talk about it. Let's move on. So that's probably why that was a little bit tough for me to kind of go back and remember, if you will.
Well, I can only apologise if I traumatised you at
No,
school.
you didn't traumatize me. You brought up some memories that now I have to go back and say, well, geez, what was, what were some of those things that I should remember?
So let's move on a little bit then. Let's look at your college.
Yeah. So college. So that was about the time when I finally ended the relationship that I was in and got into some other trouble. Jeez, oh man. I feel like I'm on the hot seat today, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So college was good. I couldn't decide. I wanted to major in psychology, to be honest with you. And here's a tidbit for anybody listening that if you're undecided on a major, if you're going to college, right? And you think, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? The advice I would give you now as a 40-year-old woman who has been through a lot of shit, I'll say, is follow your heart. Okay, please follow what you're passionate about. Don't go after the career that's going to pay the most or that you think is going to make you this millionaire, right? I wish my son would listen to me sometimes. I know he hears me in the back of his mind and it registers in his subconscious, right? But if anybody is out there and wants a piece of advice, please follow your heart, follow your passion. I wanted to do psychology and I didn't because I remember looking it up and they made like $60,000 a year. And I'm like, oh, that's not good enough. I need to make at least 100 or more. You know, I wanted to go after the money. I grew up poor, so I really wanted to be able to support myself. So then I changed and I was interested in criminology and then accounting because accounting was where the money was. And then I took a cost accounting course and I said, heck no, I cannot sit in front of a computer and run numbers for the rest of my life. That doesn't fit in with my personality. So I finally settled on marketing management. Why did I settle on marketing management? Well, Tim, I will tell you.
Please do.
Geez, I don't know if I should. Well, screw it.
Such language coming out of you.
Oh, shoot. Because
Children
I
might
thought
be
that
looking at this in years to come.
having a degree with a sales background, you can apply to any industry. That's why.
So that's why you got into that particular course then?
Yes.
So how many courses did you go through before you got to that one and how long did it take?
2 years before I decided on the sales and marketing major. And it took me 4 years. So I did 4 years of college.
So you wasted the first two then?
Yeah. But I think the first 2 years is a waste anyway of a college degree.
So
not necessarily.
So did you graduate with honors?
I graduated with honors. Yes, sir. 3.83 GPA out of a 4.0.
Well, that's not too bad. You could have done better, obviously, but
I'm lucky I was alive. I'm lucky I graduated and I was alive. That's all I have to say.
Excellent. So what was the first job that you got when you graduated, when you left college?
Good question. So I was a marketing intern for a chiropractic group. So I worked for a chiropractor who was rolling out this technology called interdiscal decompression therapy. It's IDD therapy. And so I did all of the brochures, newspaper, advertising. We did lunch and learns for lawyers and different doctors to kind of introduce them to this technology. It was a great job. I loved it. And while 3 months after I graduated college, I found out I was pregnant.
How did it happen? That didn't come with a degree, did it?
Oh God. This is the best interview I've ever had. Yeah, so there's here, let me just share something for whoever's watching this interview. I have a book that I write and I share a lot of stories that I have never really talked about to anybody. So I guess I'm gonna have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I say that very often. But yeah, so my senior year of college, I was doing a lot of partying, and you'll have to get the book behind the screen to learn more. But long story short, I found out I was pregnant, And I immediately stopped partying and stopped doing any bad things that I had been doing. And I got my life right for my son, who I call my angel baby. He is my angel baby, and he saved my life 100 million%. I don't think I'd be here if he wasn't born. So while I was working as a marketing director, I was pregnant. So I worked there for about a year, and, I went into labor on December 13th, 2006, when I was at work.
Wow. On the floor of the office.
No,
How could they manage to get you off
I made it to the hospital.
I mean, that could have been a great story for the local news, couldn't it?
I got a lot of good stories. That's why I wrote a book.
Marketing director gives birth in the office floor.
Well, at least I had doctors around. That would have,
Well, yeah. So in the chiropractor's office, I mean, he's got a bench there and everything, hasn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have been such a drama.
No.
But you managed to get to the hospital anyway.
Yes, sir.
So that was sort of 6 months into the job. So you lasted another 6 months after your lad was born. Did you carry on work straight away, or did you have that sort of maternity break?
So the father that I was with, I ended up leaving 2 months after my son was born. I ended up moving out of the town that I was in, and I went and lived with my father. And my son was kind of like the light bulb that lit up my life. And so I didn't work for 7 months after my son was born. I just loved him so dearly, and it would cost me more to put him in daycare than it would to even work. So it just didn't make sense. I've always been a single mom. My son's now 15. He's amazing, and I've raised him on my own since he was born. 7 months in, when he was 7 months old, I started my career. So I started working as a customer service representative for a large manufacturing company. And that's when my life really started to kind of turn to the positive side. So I'm grateful. I'm so grateful, beyond words grateful for the opportunity to work at this location that really changed my life and has given me the opportunity to be a sole provider for my son, and just to learn and grow professionally, and everything else. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the journey up until that point, but even more afterwards. I have lots of stories I can share with people who are struggling and who might not feel as if they have support. They might feel alone. They might feel unloved. Maybe they've went through heartbreak and trauma and so many things. And, I feel like maybe my journey prepared me for the place that I'm at now, to help other people see that you can change, you can transform your life, and you can have a profound impact, not only on your own family, friends, community, but you can have a global impact as well. And that's what my mission is.
So that job then, what did it entail? What was the catalyst of that job that turned your life around, that gave you the opportunity to carry on as a single mother?
So it was an opportunity to really grow. I think that if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to step up and really try to improve, which is how I've always been. So it was an aluminum can manufacturing facility. So we made all the sunscreen. If you think about Coppertone, Banana Boat, Axe body spray, anything in an aluminum aerosol container, we have one of the largest manufacturing facilities in the United States. So I just hit the ground running. I devoted the first 3 years of my son's life to my son and my career, nothing else. I mean, it was just work and my son. And at work, I was resilient and diligent in climbing that corporate ladder and going up and progressing. So I was given opportunities that I fully stepped into, and I'm so grateful for those opportunities. So for instance, I went from being a customer service representative to CSR manager, to supply chain manager, to continuous improvement manager, to quality manager, to plant manager, to ultimately general manager. So I went literally from the very bottom to the very top over the course of 10 years.
And what about childcare? So obviously the job takes an awful lot of time out of the day. Were you able to get childcare? Did they have a creche facility on site? So
no, they didn't. I had to put my son in daycare, and I didn't make a lot of money starting out, and I had to pay for daycare. So for the first 5 years, I just did what I needed to do to survive and provide, pay for daycare. But when my son started kindergarten, I was like, yeah, I'm getting a pay raise because I no longer had to pay for childcare. And it wasn't easy. I'll tell you, this. It's hard. It's hard. It's very, very hard to be a single parent. Very hard. But that's why I think, women and moms are so amazing, because you sacrifice and you do what you need to do to provide for that child, because it's unconditional love.
Brilliant. So it took you 10 years then to climb the old greasy pole to get to the top of the pile at the canning factory.
Yeah.
So what was it like what was your first day as general manager like?
Okay, I want to tell you this story. So I knew everybody just because I had been there for 10 years. But it's funny because I relocated back. I didn't tell you, but I ended up moving from Pennsylvania to South Carolina, sunshine and blue skies. Long story short, I was promoted, came back as general manager, and I had the corner office with, there's all glass, right? So it's floor to ceiling glass, and outside of the office are the cubicles of where like the customer service reps and purchasing, supply chain sit. So I was like in the middle of thinking, and I got up from my desk and I go to walk out the door, but I didn't realize that I walked straight into the glass window. I mean, Tim, it was the clud, like what you heard was my head hit the glass, because I thought I was walking full speed out of the door, but it was the glass window. And so this is the first memory that comes to my head. Everybody looked up from working and like looked at me and saw that I just walked into the glass. So I like peeked around outside the window, outside the door, and I said, "It's okay, everybody. I just walked into the glass. It's all right. I'm okay." So that was my first day on the job, I think, or at least the first week.
As a general manager.
Yeah, as general manager. But, all jokes aside, I was nervous. I was scared to death. Can I really do this? I'm a woman. I was 35 years old. This is a unionized facility now. Okay? So this is the hardest town. It's old Steel City. So if you remember like Pittsburgh, around that area, it's all Steel City, they call it.
Yeah.
So these are tough. This is a tough place to work. And to be a general manager as a woman in that place is literally unheard of. Like, that's why I took the job, because it's unheard of. And I wanted to just say that you can do it. But the great thing is is that I'm very empathetic, and I really, truly 100% care about those people. Every single person that works there, those guys on the floor, you know, I give a shout out to every single day because they show up and they fight machines and they fight a really tough environment. And I was there to help them improve. And I would go out on the plant floor. I would listen to them. I rallied our team together, the management team, the engineering team, the maintenance team, the machine shop, everybody, right? Everybody has to come together because they're all puzzle pieces. And within 3 months of me taking over as a general manager, we made record-breaking improvements in the company history. We had a 25% overall productivity improvement. So I like to say in manufacturing, there's a magic switch. Okay. There's a little magic switch, and you can either turn it on or you can turn it off. And it has to do with the people, nothing else. It's the people. Those people matter. And you got to take care of your people if you want to have a successful organization.
So I guess you didn't have any run-ins with the unions then. Right, everybody out.
Yeah, I had a lot of run-ins with the union, screaming matches. Yeah, lots of those. But we ended up making it through, and I love all those guys now still.
Yeah.
What's up, Vinny? I didn't scream at Vinny, but I like, hey, Vinny, you're the first person that came to my mind. Brad's the one. Love you guys.
So the unions then didn't give you an easy ride, but you managed to get on with them and averted. Did you avert any strikes? I mean, I don't know what it's like.
No, we never had a strike the whole time I was employed there. Thank God. We actually negotiated a 7-year contract, which was the first time we ever had that long term of a contract, because the company really invested a lot of money into this place. And it's a really great job to have in that community, small town, you know, all the steel factories shut down. So there aren't very many good jobs in that area. So working for this place was a good job, and it still is.
So what was your most memorable part of being in that company? What was the most memorable job that you did in the company?
You know, I'll say just the people. They're still kind of like my family. When you go to work every single day with people, and you kind of go through, there's a lot of emotions that come up during these things. So I would say the connections and the people along the way is the most memorable for me. I will tell you one thing that I talk about, because I do business consulting. So I do a lot of speaking events, and I tell this story about the time that I took over as general manager. 6 months in, they hadn't had a payout, like a gain share payout, for over 3 years. So I was really trying to empower the team to get the results so that we could get them a gain share, a payout, a bonus. And they did so good. And we, that little magic switch turned on, right? And we were just pumping out cans, and it was good. I got t-shirts made that said the Million Can March, because we made 1 million cans in one day, which was a record that had never been hit before. So long story short, I talked with the CEO and the president, and we agreed to pay out the employees a gain share after 6 months. And I'll tell you, some of the guys, they just didn't like me ever. And there was one in particular who just didn't like me. And I'll never forget, I came into work a few days after we had announced the payout, and he was waiting outside of my office for me to get into work. Now, he got off work. He worked steady midnight turn in the maintenance shop. Okay. So I never even saw him. He literally waited outside of my office for me to get in, to personally shake my hand and tell me thank you for showing up, speaking up, and, leading this team to those improvements, right? And that meant the world to me. And it still does. Like, it still makes me emotional to think that this person, he stayed after his shift and waited for me to get in to personally shake my hand and say thank you. And he acknowledged how hard it was for me, because it wasn't easy. I felt like I was beating my head off a brick wall every single day, but I was fighting for them. And when you fight and you show up for your employees, they will turn around and do the same for you. It's a win-win, and it's the best way to lead. In my opinion, that's conscious leadership.
Mm.
So I would say that is one of the most memorable moments for me.
So as a leader at the top of the tree, did you make it your business to get to know every single person that worked at the factory?
Yeah, I tried. I mean, there was over 350 employees. But yes, I would 100%. I would be out on that plant floor. There's no air conditioning. It's hot in the summertime. It's like 115 degrees. People walk around with ice packs strapped to their head and just sweating and stuff. Like, it's, but yes, I truly 100% cared about the people.
Mm. So I guess that's one of the things that makes a good leader, being able to go up to any employee, find out a little bit about them, ask them about how the wife or kids are doing, and if they've got any dramas going on in their life, taking that personal interest. I guess that is where a people person comes in to their own in that type of environment. And most people do respond to leaders that do that.
Yep.
There's so many leaders that get up into the ivory tower. You never see them.
They just sit in the office. If you're a leader and you sit in the office and you don't go out on a manufacturing floor, it's hard.
But there you go. These things are sent to try us. So, where are you now? What are you up to at the moment?
So I'm launching my first book on June 1st. Super excited. It's called Behind the Screen: Uncover the Truth, Connect to Your Power, Passion, and Purpose. It'll be available to purchase on Amazon June 1st. And the book took me almost 4 years to complete. It was kind of once a journal of my thoughts and stories, things that I just needed to get off of my chest. And then I realized, in writing, that I have a gift to write. I have a gift with my words. And I believe there's so many people that are struggling behind the screen. Right here, the screen. Mm-hmm. And so I define the screen as your lens of life, how you view yourself, how you view other people, how you view the environment around you. All depends on your own emotional state of being in any given moment. So it's really your perspective. And I like to say that, your perspective shapes your reality. And so I share my own personal stories of dealing with the effects of my parents got divorced when I was younger. The dating scene, getting my heart broken, getting cheated on, lies, my family disowning me. I was in a relationship for over 9 years, coming out of that, drugs and alcohol abuse, that led to, my moment of awakening, which is my son's birth, my angel baby. And, having that light bulb turn on and realize that I had so much more to give and to live, because before I didn't care about myself. I was sabotaging my own self. And so I think that we need to tell these stories, because too often we get caught up in the hype. We get caught up in this, instant gratification. We get caught up in the, you have to look and be a certain way. When we all have a power, we all have a passion, and we all have a purpose. And when you connect to your power, which is in here, it's not out there. It's not in the jewelry. It's not in the clothes. It's not in the car you drive. It's not in your house. Your power is here. And when you feel that power and you connect to that divine spirit and realize that everything is energy and that you can shift the energy of yourself, your family, your relationships, and your environment, you gain more power. And I want to teach that to people. I want to teach people that they can overcome bad situations. They can overcome bad relationships. They can reprogram their way of thinking. They can reprogram this supercomputer that we don't know how to use because we're not taught how to use it, because we're conditioned to be in this box of ideals, beliefs, whatever it is you're told that you have to stay in this box. Get out of the box. There is no box in my world. Okay, there's a torus of energy and we're all exuding this energy. So when you realize that, you can shift your own vibrational frequency and you can then shift your own external environment and the people around you. And so I want to have a ripple effect within the universe, and I want to show other people how to use this, how to connect to this, and how to make their life so much better. And so I tell that in my book, Behind the Screen. And then I teach a 7-step life timeline system of transformation. So what's your life timeline, you would ask? It's from birth until today, right? So you asked me these questions at the beginning of the show from birth, right? What was elementary school like? What was grade school like? What was high school like? All of that, those experiences and those memories shaped my character. And I didn't have control over what was happening to me at that point in time, because as kids, we are conditioned by the experiences we go through. And then when you become an adult, you then all of a sudden can make decisions for yourself when you're 18 years old, right? But what people don't realize is you become conditioned in this subconscious mind, which is your computer system that operates your body on autopilot, has been conditioned to react in certain ways. And so those reactions shape your results of life. So if you want to change your results of life, you have to go back and look at your actions or reactions, your feeling and your thinking. So you got to go back to the way that you're thinking. And so a lot of our thought processes were ingrained in here at a young age. So I explain the science behind spirituality. I talk a lot about neuroscience, quantum physics, psychology, because I dove down the rabbit hole trying to research and understand it for myself. I applied this system of transformation to my own life. I validated that it works. It works because I've accomplished a lot of things in my life that I'm very proud of. And I overcame a lot of struggles that I'm not proud of. However, I'm here to tell the story to the world that you can overcome anything and you can transform your life. Mm-hmm. Amen, sister. Go ahead with it.
Yeah, rock on. Tell me about quantum physics.
Quantum physics. So everything is energy. People don't understand that this and everything is vibrating at a certain level. So if you take a microscope and you look at any matter, what we call matter, under a microscope, you'll just find subatomic particles that are just vibrating. So it's just energy. Everything is energy. Okay, that's what people don't understand. Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, they understood this stuff in the 1900s and they were trying, but I believe that there's governmental controls and there's other things that stop that from getting out to the public.
Because the way I see quantum physics is it's the ability to time travel.
I believe that you can time travel. Everything is here. And, that's why you have ancient, Buddhists and people that can meditate. And I think that you can ascend. I believe there's 12 dimensions we only understand the 3-dimensional reality because of our 5 senses. So those senses allow our spiritual being to play in this 3-dimensional reality. But there's 12 dimensions that you can travel to through your mind. And I think that the future is people are starting to wake up to the ability that we have as human beings. Well, I'll say as spiritual beings, maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll
Be interesting
save that
if you
for
could
another
time
show.
travel, wouldn't it?
What's that?
So be interesting if you could time travel. If you could time travel, where would you go?
Well, so here's the deal. Time is an illusion. It's a series of present moments.
What present moment would you want to go back to?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I mean, there's so many questions about time travel, and if you could time travel and go back to somewhere, would you change something that would then change everything else?
Isn't that like a science fiction movie, huh?
It is a bit, isn't it?
It is. And then you see these science fiction movies coming true.
Yeah, I know, it's a worry, isn't it?
It is. That's why I said I don't know. I don't know what I would. I'd go back to the 70s and dance with I don't know. Like what is it? The 60s.
It was around in the 70s.
Yeah. I would have probably been one of the people doing that. I would have been, I can tell you that.
Yeah. So, Carrie, where do you see yourself going?
I am going to be a transformational leader. My vision is to reach, teach, and transform over 1 million lives globally. I want to speak on stages all around the world. I want to speak to high schools. I want to speak to colleges. I want to speak to large groups of people and share my story and share the truth that we have everything we need, and empower and inspire our youth, our young people, to get out of the box and to realize that they can co-create their reality. I will be interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. I will be interviewed by a lot of different people. So I see myself traveling the world, speaking, teaching, and transforming lives.
Well, you've been interviewed by me, so you're well on your way now.
Thank you, Tim. It's been a pleasure. I love it. I love these interviews. This was actually the most interesting interview I've ever been on. So thank you very much. It was a great experience.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I've enjoyed it, and I try to say I treat every one of my guests as though they're the only person I'm interested in at that time.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You have been an absolute fabulous guest.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and good luck for the future.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it too.
The Tim Heale Podcasts. Ordinary people's extraordinary stories.